In a not-so-distant future, the political landscape had turned into a carnival of chaos, where three colossal super-parties, red, blue, and green, dominated the scene like overinflated balloons in a parade. Each party had its own peculiar mascot. Red was represented by a flame-spewing dragon that roared slogans, blue showcased a suave, tuxedo-clad dolphin, and green, the environmental champion, had a giant, sentient tree named Branch. In the heart of this circus stood Maxine Max Harper, a quirky candidate from the nearly defunct Purple Party, with its slogan, "Because Purple Matters." It was a small party struggling to find its place in a world obsessed with flashy logos and catchy jingles. Max had always preferred being the odd one out, someone who loved to dress in mismatched socks and had a penchant for collecting unusual hats, which was why she thought wearing a homemade purple unicorn costume to the upcoming debate was a brilliant idea. One sunny Saturday morning, Max found herself at a local farmer's market in the small town of Haverford, trying to gain traction among potential voters. She stood behind a rickety table adorned with hastily made flyers and an impressive array of baked goods. The market bustled with energy. Kids chased each other with sticky hands, elderly couples argued over the best tomatoes, and a goat named Sir Choose-A-Lot was causing chaos by munching on everyone's belongings. Max was in the midst of an impromptu speech, trying to capture the crowd's attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today," she began, but her words were drowned out by the sound of a disgruntled vendor shouting at the goat. Sir Choose-A-Lot had decided that Max's flyers looked particularly appetizing. "Not the pamphlets, Sir Choose-A-Lot," she yelled, lunging to save her precious campaign materials. The crowd erupted in laughter as Max, now half bent over the table, wrestled with the goat while trying to maintain her composure. "Look at that. We have a new mascot for the Purple Party," an amused bystander shouted, raising a half-eaten donut in a toast. Max straightened up, out of breath but with a grin plastered on her face. "Why not? Let's put the goat in." "Great," she quipped, earning a round of applause and cheers. This was the moment when her quirky charm began to resonate with the crowd. They weren't just there for vegetables, they were craving something real, something refreshing. Just when she thought she'd lost their interest, her authentic approach broke through the political monotony. Laughter filled the air, a warmth that reminded her why she was in this race. "If I can handle a goat, I can handle a debate," Max declared, pointing at Sir Choose-A-Lot, who had decided to take a nap right on top of her table. With newfound enthusiasm, Max rallied the crowd, sharing her vision for change, her voice rising above the chaos. "Let's not let these super parties think they own our choices. We need to break the mold and make our voices heard." After the market, Max met with her campaign manager, Eddie, who was busy scrolling through social media. "You know, your goat stunt is going viral," he said, barely hiding his smirk. "I've never seen so many hashtags about livestock politics." "Great. Maybe they'll all vote for me because I'm the candidate who loves animals," Max replied, a hint of sarcasm in her tone. "What's next? A chicken as my vice president?" "You laugh, but at this rate, you might have a solid chance." Eddie chuckled. "People are tired of the same old suits. They want someone who'll shake things up, preferably with a costume." Inspired by her farmer's market success, Max decided to crash the upcoming televised debate among the Super Party leaders. The event was sure to be a spectacle, each candidate vying for attention with their elaborate staging and theatrical flair. But Max had a plan. She would show up in her purple unicorn costume, a symbol of her party's whimsical yet earnest approach to politics. As the debate day approached, Max and Eddie prepared for the big moment. "What's your strategy?" Eddie asked, trying to suppress his laughter as he watched Max struggle to walk in the cumbersome costume. "I'm going to burst into the debate, shout some puns, and then, poof, drop some serious knowledge bombs," Max said, looking in the mirror with her face half covered in a sparkly purple mane. Like, why did the unicorn run for office? To make the political landscape a little more magical. Brilliant. That's the kind of humor that'll really win them over, Eddie said, shaking his head with disbelief. The day of the debate arrived, and the stage was set like a gladiatorial arena. The three super parties flaunted their extravagant setups. Red had flames erupting from behind their podium, blue had a disco ball reflecting glimmers of light, and green was surrounded by potted plants and eco-friendly decor. When it was finally Max's turn, she burst onto the stage in her unicorn costume, much to the astonishment of the audience. "I'm here to bring a little sparkle to your political lives," she proclaimed, striking a pose. The camera zoomed in on the bemused faces of the super party leaders. "Who let this clown in?" grumbled the Red Party leader, adjusting his tie as if Max's presence was a personal affront. "Oh, come on. I'm just here to make politics a little more fun," she shot back, her playful tone catching the audience off guard. The initial shock began to morph into amusement, laughter rippling through the crowd. Max's antics turned the debate into a surprisingly lively affair. While the other candidates tried to stick to their rehearsed scripts, Max used humor and wit to dismantle their arguments. "Why do we keep playing the same old song on repeat? It's like watching the same bad rom-com over and over again." As the night wore on, she continued to capture the audience's hearts with her authenticity. Max knew she wasn't just fighting for her party, she was fighting for the people who felt forgotten by the political machine. Yet, the high spirits were quickly met with a backlash. After the debate, the super parties launched a smear campaign against her, using clips of her costume to undermine her credibility. The headlines read things like, "Unicorns aren't real, neither is her campaign," and "Is this the best Haverford can do?" Max felt the weight of the world crashing down on her, but just as she began to lose hope, something unexpected happened. A movement began to stir on social media, a rallying cry for authenticity, unicorn for change. The townsfolk she had connected with rallied behind her, sharing their own quirky stories, showing that they, too, were fed up with the status quo. They posted videos of their own silly costumes, and soon, Max was no longer just the butt of a joke, she was a symbol of grassroots activism. At a town hall meeting, Max stood before her supporters, their faces filled with determination. She spoke passionately, reminding them that change often starts with a single voice. "We are more than just party lines. We are a community, and together, we can break down these barriers. If we can laugh together, we can fight together." As she finished her speech, a former politician from the Red Party, who had left due to its corruption, stood up and declared his support for Max. "If she can embrace the absurdity of our politics, then so can we." The crowd erupted into applause, a wave of unity washing over them. Max realized that humor and authenticity could disrupt even the most entrenched political systems. As she stepped off the stage, Eddie came up to her, his face a mix of awe and disbelief. "You did it, Max. You turned the tide." "Well, if I can handle a goat and a costume, I can handle anything," she said with a wink, a sense of determination lighting up her eyes. But just as she thought they were on the brink of victory, the Red Party leader challenged her to a dance-off for a chance at national recognition. "If you think you can win votes with a silly costume, let's see if you can win hearts on the dance floor." Max grinned, adrenaline surging through her. "You're on. Let's dance our way to a brighter future." The story continues as Max embraces her quirky persona, ready to shake up the political arena like never before. Max's heart raced at the challenge. A dance-off? She glanced around at the audience, who looked both amused and intrigued. This was not what she expected when she decided to run for office. The Red Party leader, a tall man with a commanding presence and an exaggerated sense of self-importance, strutted confidently to the center of the stage, adjusting his shiny red tie as if he were about to deliver the performance of a lifetime. The crowd began to murmur, anticipation buzzing in the air. Max took a deep breath, reminding herself that this was just another opportunity to showcase her authenticity. After all, if a goat could win her supporters over, surely a dance-off could cement her place in their hearts. "All right, folks," she called out, raising her arms in an exaggerated flourish that sent her sparkly mane of the unicorn costume swaying. "Get ready for the ultimate showdown. Let's bring some magic to this political circus." The DJ, a middle-aged man who had somehow found his way into the debate hall, began to spin some upbeat music, and the energy in the room shifted. Max took her position, her goofy confidence radiating. The Red leader's smug smile faltered slightly, and for a moment, she could see the uncertainty in his eyes. With a sudden burst of enthusiasm, he began with an over-the-top dance move that involved a dramatic spin and a wild thrust of his arms. The audience chuckled, and Max couldn't help but roll her eyes, a smirk creeping onto her face. "Is that the best you can do?" she called out, her playful tone drawing laughter from the crowd. Then it was her turn. Max decided to go all out. She began with an exaggerated hop, twirling in place before breaking into a series of silly, uncoordinated moves that were part interpretive dance, part awkward flailing. The audience erupted in laughter and cheers, their spirits lifting with each ridiculous gesture. "Come on, let's see some spirit," she shouted, inviting the audience to join in. They clapped along, some even mimicking her moves. The Red leader looked increasingly uncomfortable, his slick dance style contrasting sharply with Max's endearingly clumsy performance. Emboldened by the crowd's reaction, Max kicked it up a notch. She pulled out her best unicorn trot, a mix of prancing and wild arm movements that seemed to defy all rhythm. The audience was in stitches, and for a moment, the serious political atmosphere dissolved into pure joy. As the music shifted to a more upbeat tempo, Max seized the moment. She executed an unexpected spin and launched herself into a series of increasingly absurd moves, a cartwheel, followed by a dramatic slide across the stage, her costume shimmering under the lights. The Red leader, caught off guard, stumbled back, his face a mixture of shock and disbelief. Finally, the music came to a halt, and the audience erupted in applause. Max stood panting in her glittery outfit, hands on her hips, a broad grin on her face. "Who says politics can't be fun?" she exclaimed, her heart racing from the exhilaration. The Red leader, recovering from his shock, attempted to regain his composure. "That was unexpected," he managed, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "But let's see if the people really want a candidate who dances instead of debating." But Max wasn't done yet. "Maybe the real question is whether the people want a candidate who takes themselves too seriously," she shot back, her confidence radiating from her. The crowd cheered louder, and Max felt an overwhelming sense of pride. In that moment, she realized that her goofy, unfiltered self was exactly what people needed to see. She had turned a potentially embarrassing moment into a celebration of community, and she was determined to keep that momentum going. After the debate, the buzz around Max's dance-off spread like wildfire. News outlets picked up the story, framing her as a fresh and fun alternative to the traditional candidates. Social media exploded with clips of her performance, fans posting their own dance videos under Unicorn for Change. She had inadvertently sparked a movement, one that transcended the ridiculousness of the campaign itself. As the days passed, the energy in Haverford shifted. People began to engage with her campaign, not just for the laughs, but for the hope she represented. Mechs held town hall meetings where she encouraged open dialogue, allowing citizens to share their thoughts and ideas without judgment. She found herself surrounded by laughter and joy, connecting with people in a way she had never imagined. Eddie, her ever-supportive campaign manager, watched the transformation with admiration. "You know, this could actually work," he said one day, scrolling through social media feeds filled with fan art of Mechs as a unicorn. "You're not just a candidate anymore, you're a symbol of change." Mechs smiled, feeling the weight of the responsibility settle onto her shoulders. "I just hope I can keep this momentum going. I want to show people that politics can be fun, but it can also be meaningful." The night of the next debate approached, and the stakes were higher than ever. This time, it wasn't just about a costume or a dance, it was about a vision for the future. Mechs felt the pressure mounting, but the support of her newfound community bolstered her confidence. On debate night, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. Mechs arrived in her unicorn costume, feeling the familiar surge of excitement as she took her place on stage. The super party leaders glared at her, their earlier confidence shaken by her growing popularity. The debate began, and each candidate presented their rehearsed rhetoric, touting their party's grand plans and lofty ideals. When it was Mechs's turn, she took a deep breath, recalling the laughter and joy of the town hall meetings. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "I'm here to remind you that we don't need grand promises, we need real solutions. We need to listen to each other, not just to the party lines. I may not have flashy slogans, but I do have something that matters, the people's voice." As she spoke, the audience erupted with applause. Mechs's heartfelt message cut through the political jargon like a breath of fresh air. She made a bold declaration: "We need to break the chains of these super parties. Together, we can create a new political landscape, one where every voice matters, and no one is too small to make a difference." With that, the crowd went wild. People stood, cheering, waving their homemade signs, chanting her name. For the first time, the super party leaders looked genuinely rattled. Mechs had taken a stand, and the momentum was firmly on her side. After the debate, a local news station caught up with her. "Mechs, how do you feel about your performance tonight?" the reporter asked. "I feel like we're on the cusp of something amazing," she replied, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. "This isn't just about me. It's about all of us. We're ready to take back our power." The following weeks were a whirlwind. The campaign gained traction, with more people attending her events and expressing genuine interest in her policies. She took to social media with a series of quirky videos, encouraging her followers to get involved in their communities and engage with local issues. One day, she organized a community cleanup event, showing her commitment to environmental issues while simultaneously having fun. Dressed in her unicorn costume once again, she rallied the troops, holding up a trash bag like a trophy. "Let's make our town sparkle, folks. It's time to get our hands dirty for a cleaner future." The turnout was incredible. Families, teenagers, and seniors all came together, laughing as they picked up litter, shared stories, and even participated in impromptu dance breaks to the music blaring from portable speakers. Mechs felt a warmth in her heart as she watched strangers connect, united by a common cause. Just when she thought things couldn't get better, an unexpected visitor arrived at one of her events. It was a former candidate from the Blue Party, a charismatic figure known for his charm and eloquence. "I've been watching your campaign, Max," he said, his demeanor surprisingly earnest. "You're inspiring people to believe in change again. I'd like to throw my support behind you." Max was taken aback. "Really? You mean it?" she asked, trying to mask her excitement. "Absolutely," he replied, nodding earnestly. "The old way isn't working anymore. We need fresh ideas, and you're bringing them to the table." With his endorsement, Max's campaign gained even more credibility. The tide was turning, and the super parties were starting to feel the pressure. People who had once felt resigned to the system began to see a glimmer of hope. As election day approached, the atmosphere was electric. Max held rallies that felt more like celebrations than political events. "Let's show them that we are here, and we are ready for change," she declared, her enthusiasm infectious. Finally, the day arrived. The sun shone brightly as the polls opened, and a steady stream of voters began to flow in. Max stood outside, greeting everyone with a smile, encouraging them to make their voices heard. She had transformed from the underdog in a unicorn costume into a symbol of hope for many. When the results began to trickle in, it became clear that something remarkable was happening. Max was winning. The Purple Party had defied all odds, capturing the hearts and votes of a community tired of the status quo. As the final results were announced, the crowd erupted in cheers. Max had done it. She stood in front of her supporters, tears of joy streaming down her face, overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of what they had achieved together. "We did this," she shouted, her voice breaking with emotion. "This is just the beginning. Together, we can reshape our political future, one laugh, one dance, and one voice at a time." In that moment, surrounded by her friends, family, and supporters, Max realized that her journey had just begun. The fight for genuine representation and meaningful change was far from over, but with her community by her side, she felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The absurdity of her campaign had not only brought laughter but had also fostered a movement grounded in hope and authenticity. And as she looked out at the sea of smiling faces, she knew they were ready to continue the dance toward a brighter future.